American-born savages.
It's the summit of savages, we're live in the mix. Chills the savage, I'm wild with the tricks. Nate the Celt, bringing history's flame. Flash the goat herd, taming the game. Sith turn Jedi, flip the dark to light. Mighty Mouse Matt, scrapping every fight. We're dropping truth bombs, no filter, no fear. Everyday topics, yeah, we're keeping it clear.
Summit of savages, we're raising the stakes. Different views clashing, that's what it takes. No holding back, we're breaking the mold. Outside the box, yeah, we're bold and cold.
I'm Chills, the mic's my blade, I'm cutting through. Savage vibes, spilling thoughts, that's true. Every angle's fair, I'll flip the script. Ain't no topic safe when the savage grips.
Nate the Celt, warrior soul in my veins. Past meets present, breaking all chains. I'll clash, I'll argue, but I'll hear you out. Perspective shifting, that's what it's about. Summit of savages, we're raising the stakes. Different views clashing, that's what it takes. No holding back, we're breaking the mold. Outside the box, yeah, we're bold and cold.
Flash in the cut, I'm herd in the flock. Goats of the game, I'm stacking the stock. No fence too high, I'll leap that wall. Seeing all sides, yeah, I'm standing tall.
Sith turn Jedi, I'm a cosmic mess. Traded my cape for a glow stick, I guess. Debating with Yoda, he's ghosting my calls. Force choke my Wi-Fi, now I'm dropping the balls.
Mighty Mouse Matt, I'm tiny but loud. Squeaking my takes to the unwashed crowd. Punched a cat once, it was self-defense. Now I'm dodging claws, living life intense. We're the crew that
fights over pizza crust. Sis lightsabers dull, flashes goats ate rust. Matt's in a mousetrap, Nate's lost in plaid. Chills just yelled, yo, this pod's gone mad. Summit of savages, we're raising the stakes. Different views clashing, that's what it takes. No holding back, we're breaking the mold. Outside the box, yeah, we're bold and cold.
From Chills to Matt, we're the savage pack. Nate, Flash, Sith, ain't no turning back. Everyday life, we dissect the grind. Summit of savages, one of a kind.
What is up, everybody? Look, I got Matt next to me because he's not in the right location. But it's okay, because I'll just play Rochambeau with him later.
Uh-oh.
I am cHiLzTheSavage. This is the Summit of Savages. So let me just go right into it. First things first, welcome, everybody. This is the Summit of Savages, where we rip through the BS and chase the real. I'm Chills, your host, and I'm leading this pack of wild ones. Tonight we got Nate the Celt, slinging ancient knowledge. We got Mighty Mouse Matt, and he's a small package, but savage heat and lost brain. And then we got Flash Martin, bringing in the lightning fast vibes and the farm animals. Maybe some rogue guests if they show up. Let's call it as it is. Tonight we're kicking off with a banger. Did 120 decibel blast could that anything above 120 decibels you lose sound? Could that be what describes the Tower of Babel? A volcano. Many different things can create the blast. Then we're going to be turning the words, like it turned their words into guttural chaos. But then we're tearing into today's current events. And that'll be more in the AI discussion. And it's not, hey, we're going to get all complicated and talking, but it's more, hey, is this taking over the creative side of that? And finally, one of the more important ones, as normal, Nate chose the third topic. We're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap things up, but we're going to get raw about it. We're going to ask about the people that had the most impact on us, who shaped us growing up. Those are the game changers, and who keep us hungry for more information, more learning, things of that nature. So, crank it up. I hope you got your drinks. We're about to get savage. With that being said, I think it's time to hit this button. All right, we got Nate if he shows up. Let me see what's going on here. It might be me because of OBS or this. we got going on here? There we go. Technical difficulties.
It happens.
Yeah. Look, we got Flashy Martin. Look at that massive, gigantic head. Wow. Dude, I gotta minimize you like 90x.
Right. Yeah, it's because of the angle.
No, your head's just that big. They had to use.
No,
You're using one of them cameras like the portal camera in New York and London, huh?
he's such a prick.
It's okay. Nate,
Like
do
an
you
orange
agree?
on a toothpick.
Okay, there we go. We
You
got
should.
Nate. All right, all right. Now that we're done with these technical difficulties, let's get right into it. So we're gonna go right ahead and do it. Could a 120 decibel or louder sound be what caused the Tower of Babel loss of languages? Why is that keep disappearing on us? Here, let me get that over there. Now, the reason that this is one of our topics is because anything above 120 decibels for us currently, it is dangerous enough for us to lose the language. We won't be like, we'll lose hearing. We won't be able to hear anymore. Now, in the past, did that have a different impact? Was it less than 120 decibels? Because they don't have the environmental noise that we have that we build up a tolerance to. So, when the Tower of Babel was mentioned in Genesis 11:9, or the ziggurat, I think it was in Sumerian, these were altars sharing, more or less, sharing a language, or an altar where everybody had the same language and they were trying to get to God. But the real question is, was it not necessarily divine intervention? Did this tower fall? Did something like an eruption happen, where a volcanic eruption? Because there were volcanoes in the Levant around 12,900 years ago. And if our timeline is simply off by a little bit, it makes complete sense. Then we got the people that speak the Semitic languages. In certain areas, they speak with a guttural tone. When they're talking, it's like they're talking from the back of their throat. That's a guttural tone. If you listen to somebody who is deaf, if they were able to hear at one point and they went deaf, a few years down the road, they'll have that guttural sound. It's very similar. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to break into it a lot more because I have a whole bunch of key points, and we're going to discuss the whole situation. So, in the biblical context, Genesis 11:1 through 9, humanity speaking one language. Now, this is where Nate's specialty would be. Humanity speaking one language builds a tower in Shinar, Mesopotamia. God confused their language and scattered them. Me personally, I'm looking at the hypothesis: a 120 decibel event, example, a volcano or a collapsing of this tower, caused hearing loss, turning a shared language into a guttural degraded versions, reflecting in the different Semitic languages, including the throaty sounds in a lot of them. Acoustic damage: 120 decibel threshold. Sounds at 120 decibel, such as an extremely loud concert, cause pain. 100 to 100, 130 and to 140 is similar to a jet taking off and can cause permanent hearing loss. Ancient people without modern noise, example 70 to 90 decibel urban sounds, had no tolerance or ear protection. So far, Nate, what do you think about this? Like, this is something I've never seen anybody discuss this when it comes to biblical terms. And I've went and researched to see if anybody looked into it. And it really seems like this is one of those topics people try to avoid.
I mean, it is definitely possible with a loud sound burst, and with how the destruction of the tower happened, I believe it could have been what caused everybody to kind of change languages. Because as you even pointed out, when somebody who once was hearing goes deaf, they end up with a guttural, muted tone to their voice.
Exactly.
So it's possible. Sorry,
Nate.
we have a guest apparently keeps poking their head in.
Well, he's
Slap
always
the camera.
welcome. He's always welcome on a stream. Okay, Matt. What about you? You're young. You're wet behind the ears. You probably think it was a hot chick, don't you?
Ow.
We have a lot more information on this.
Okay.
So, do you want me to keep
Yeah,
going and
keep
we'll ask
going.
again? Flash, do you want me to keep going and then ask you?
Well, I do think though it is possible it could have changed the people the way they talk, because like for an example, the Tower of Babel when it came down, it could have been that it was due to the vibrations, like when glass vibrations hit glass,
Look,
it caused like
I
a
know what
wave
you're
effect.
saying, but we're not even looking.
So it could be like that.
We're not even looking at what brought the tower down in any way, shape, or form. But I do see the aspect you're coming from. However, let's focus more on the loss of language is exactly where we're at. How was there a loss of language? How would people just go from speaking one language to transforming and speaking another language? Unless the original people that knew the sound, knew the language, that was outside within what 100 meters, they wouldn't have had the hearing damage. So if they came in, the people that were near the epicenter of the event, they would have the damage, and the people then, hey, want to say a bit from the last time. I wasn't saying a man can break. Yes, he definitely can, but you need to learn and or get stronger from it and move forward. Absolutely, Scrog. But
I agree with that, Scrog.
basically, what it really comes down to is the vicinity. If somebody outside of that damage zone comes in and they hear these people talk, they're not going to recognize the people, especially if they know them. They would go deaf. They wouldn't have the same way to speak. It would be completely different sounding. But let me go ahead and get further into this. If it was a volcanic eruption, 180 to 200 decibels near the source. Krakatoa, 1883, hit 172 decibels at 100 miles. A smaller eruption in the Levant or Mesopotamia could exceed easily 120 decibels. A thunderclap, 120 to 130 decibels in severe storms common in the Fertile Crescent. In that area, there's storms that make thunder that loud. Seismic collapse, earthquakes or a falling tower, example, a ziggurat, could hit 120 decibel via shock waves. The divine sound, a biblical divine roar, might mimic a natural blast, or vice versa. They interpreted it as it being divine because it was so loud and it destroyed their hearing. Then the language would have changed. And if you get a whole bunch of people from different cultures who already have issues speaking with each other, it's one language, but they have different dialects of that one language, they lose their hearing. Think about that. That would be like an Asian man trying to explain to me something, and neither of us really understanding each other in the first place. It just would be very hard. Okay. And then we got the hearing loss. It distorts sound perception and speech articulation. potentially forcing reliance on guttural sounds, easier to feel in the throat. This is common knowledge. So whenever somebody goes deaf, it's easier for them to speak from the back of their throat and feel it and know that they're getting the word out. You ever heard of somebody speak Arabic? Semitic languages, Hebrew and Arabic, have guttural consonants. I'm not going to try to read them, but they suggest uh, when I suggested it was a sound degradation, it's like a speech post hearing loss. My idea is a pre-Babel language might have been clearer. Hearing loss pushed the survivors towards guttural, less reliant and auditory features. Like it's in front of us. Now we can't say what caused it, but they all say a tower fell. We got to quit looking at these books as religion and start looking at as historical evidence. And I'm not saying take religion and throw it out the window. I'm just saying we got to look at it more than just, hey, this is a story about religion. No. Okay. We have the environment. There's volcanic fields in Golem Heights, but there were no major eruptions. Or the major eruptions were prehistoric. Smaller events or seismic activity circa 3000 to 2000 BCE. Babel's era are possible. Mesopotamia, Shinar, like Babylon, has less volcanic activity, but storms are collapsing structures. Example, Temeneki, it's Anki's ziggurat. It could produce 120 decibels. Ancient vulnerability. Without modern noise, ancient ears were sensitive to making a 120 decibel event catastrophic. The theories, God used a 120 decibel event to enact confusion. That's logical. That makes a lot more sense to me. Babel's story might encode an auditory trauma with guttural as a scar. Survivors favored guttural as easier to produce post-hearing trauma. Okay, now I'm going to let one of you guys look at consider it. Is there, Nate? I know I keep going to you, but you have the history of this. You went to school for this stuff. Do you see an argument against it being a loss of language due to loss of hearing instead of the languages being changed? Because even in the ancient books, in the ancient text, I don't necessarily know if it could argue against it. A confused language.
I mean, based off of the research that I had to do and translations I've had to do, I would say it's possible that, it was a sound that caused it. I mean, we don't have anything saying that it wasn't the cause of why, the language has changed. I mean, you got to think the sound. So if you have a sound wave that destroyed the tower, and then suddenly people's voices, languages changed, could that have been the cause of it?
Yeah, exactly.
I can see it.
Okay, so just think of it this way, people. 120 decibel volcano erupts. I'm not saying that's what it is. I think the tower fell, to be 100% honest. But 120 decibel volcano hits Babel, deafening everyone. Their words turn guttural, like Hebrew or Arabic. Is that why they talk so different? Matt, Mighty Mouse.
What's up?
If your ears get blasted
Okay.
in this way, what's your new language? You got to give us a demo, and you can only do grunts and roars. I am dead serious. I have it written in the script. It is a requirement.
Oh
Look, Flash even turned his light on. He wants to see this.
man, why did I sign up for this?
What's
Go
it
ahead.
makes a change from picking on me?
Okay. You can't hear me in any way, but you need to tell me what happened. You can't use regular language. You can only talk out the back of your throat. Try it. I think he's scared. Flash.
Mighty Mouse, I'll help you out a little bit.
No, Nate. Flash. You haven't said much.
What?
Nate needs to conserve his voice because he's got a long last topic for us to get into. Go ahead, Nate. Give us or go ahead, Flash. Give us a demo, an example.
I don't know. I can't do it. To be honest with you.
I think they're
No,
Yeah, I'm gonna keep. Yeah.
no, I really.
Would this not be an origin for sign language? I'm not so sure about that, Scrog. I thought about that. I really did. But if you consider it, this would be all people that lost their hearing at a sudden impact, like a sudden situation. I don't know if they'd be able to build a sign language that fast. Because there would still be there's only 100-mile radius or whatever, 50 to 100-meter radius that would that would get the hearing damage. The people right outside of that radius wouldn't have the hearing damage, but they wouldn't understand the people in the radius. So that one makes you
Can I
think.
just say,
Go ahead.
I was just thinking, is it possible that it wasn't a volcano or anything that we're thinking, and it could have been when the towers dropped down
That's
because
what
of
I
the
said.
sound that is gone?
That's what I
The
just said.
towers
I
dropped
believe
down.
the tower
Yeah.
fell over.
And that's what caused them to get
Yes,
deaf by
because
the
if
pressure.
okay, so if we because I ran both of these models, if we have the Pyramid of Giza completely collapse all at once, it does not produce as much sound as if we have a standard ancient ziggurat, which was around 90 by 90, collapse. Because it's skinnier and it's like less of mass, but smaller on the impact, like larger on the impact, because it's a smaller swing down. It would create more sound. At least that's what the model said. But let's go ahead a little bit further into this. Flash, this is where I got a question for you, and I've been waiting to ask you this question since we started. Okay. You're pretty fast. You have to chase them sheep all the time. But could you outrun a volcano's blast? What's your take on the sound loss idea? Like, where would you stand? Could you consider being able to understand? Could that the what I told you guys to think about was when I said try to tell me how you would be able to explain losing hearing. I don't know what she's feeding us, but this guy, wait a minute. You could only pretty much use grunts. You ready to try it?
Huh?
You gonna use the language? Okay.
Chicken.
Yup.
Nate, do you know of any other cultures from like the Celts or Irish that lost hearing? I really didn't look much into it. Even the Norse. I think I'm gonna have to explore that because I know there's other country there's plenty of other countries that had that situation. But let's go ahead and jump into the next topic because we kind of ran a few minutes long on this Okay. Topic number 2. Current events. AI's takeover of creative jobs. AI such as Grok 3 or Stable Diffusion or any of these DALI, a lot of these generative AIs for music podcasts sparking debates about job losses versus innovation. Like, is that what's happening? Are we killing our culture of who we are with AI? And I look at that from multiple different perspectives because I use AI and it's kind of different for me. But we're gonna go ahead and look at a few different angles and then we're all gonna discuss it. So, is it a tool or a job killer? Could AI mimic the Summit of Savages? Sorry to tell you, yes, it absolutely could, and it would do a better job than what we do. Because it would be programmed, and I have generative AI. As we speak right now, I am still updating my AI because I crashed it last night, and it's been stuck since. So, whatever. Should AI in creative fields be limited? I don't know how to answer that. Me personally, in my personal aspect, I'm not sure how we would answer that.
I think that it should be limited. Yeah, Chills. I know you've released a couple songs via AI, but if you have somebody that does all of their songs in the same tone using AI, it's kind of like a Milli Vanilli issue then.
Wait a minute, stop, because we got a lot of people. Look, Milli Vanilli, if they came out right now, they would not have an issue at all. If they would have came out 5 years ago, they would have not had an issue at all. For probably the last 10 years, we've had a lot of artists use backing tracks. And we've had a lot of artists' microphones shut off and reveal that those wasn't just backing tracks. They was the full song. So, what it all comes down to with that is there are a lot of fakes out there, regardless if it's AI or not. Now, when it comes to the generated music, I don't think that that's a perfect example, actually. When it comes to the generative music, I don't think AI should be an issue at all. Flash, what are you doing? Oh, because I think when it comes to AI, like everybody knows, if I create a song, every instrument, the tempo, speed, the how I want the sounds to be, from the piano to a violin to an electric guitar coming in halfway through to a drop where it's got a beat to the 808 BPMs, things of that nature. I implement every aspect of every song that I make. Now, when it comes to people just, hey, make me a song about this, I kind of feel a little bit different about that. But if you're adding every instrument, if you're telling it how you want it to sound, I don't have an argument with that because it's still your own creative way to create it. Matt, you are a perfect example. When I've been making the video that I've been working on, okay, how many times did I have you in here and we were discussing it and then boom, it's like, hey, think about this, and I would throw it at you.
Yeah.
There's more creativity right there, Nate, than you absolutely can imagine. Because it's not, hey, I want to be able to do this. It's, I can do this now.
I mean, like I said, there's a difference between you. I mean, because hey, you and I worked on one of the Summit of Savages songs.
Yeah.
Together. Yeah, there was two different inputs, but we weren't sitting saying that this is our voice.
Oh, no. See, I absolutely feel that should be disclosed. If you were caught using AI and it is not disclosed, you should have something come down upon you. Whether it be now you lose all rights to that AI music, whether you made it or not, or something of that nature. But then we got the okay, you know what? This is perfect because I was having a conversation and it had nothing to do with our podcast tonight. This was earlier today. I have a buddy Luke. He was in Discord with me for hours. And he said, "Yeah, I had to go to the police station recently, and when I went there, they made me sign a paper saying that I didn't use AI before I came down here to generate my statement." So we went ahead, and as a matter of fact, I might still have it up. We went ahead and we created it. We created a synthetic scenario. Let me see. Here we go. Okay, so we created a synthetic scenario earlier, right? And this is just me and him talking. You're standing outside your neighbor's house, slightly disheveled from drinking. When cops arrive after your neighbor called about their broken window, you admit to the act. This is telling you how you get out of it. Like, I used the most craziest scenario that you could possibly imagine. Let me see. Okay. Let me see. It's giving me how to make the video, but that's not what I'm trying to do. Okay. I said, "Hey, Grok, I need your help with a video. I want it to believable. I want it to be believable. You have to tell me how to explain to a cop a way to get out of trouble for punching your neighbor's window while you were drunk." It legitimately tells you how to manipulate the cop. I don't know how to feel with that, because that would fall under free speech technically. But
It could be considered perjury at the same note.
exactly. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to read a little bit of this. It says, "Admit and apologize is step one. Explain the context. I've been really stressed lately. Work's been rough. I got passed over for promotion, and I was just trying to unwind a few drinks. This is the story it's telling you to use. I was walking home from a friend's place and thought I heard something like someone messing with my neighbor's house. In my head, I thought I was helping by banging on the window to scare off the prowler or something. I didn't realize I hit it hard enough to broke it. I know it sounds dumb now, but I wasn't trying to cause any trouble." I'm sorry, that's a believable scenario for a drunk person.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Okay. Diffuse with neighbor context. Make it clear it wasn't personal and show community spirit. I've known the neighbor's name for years. It says the neighbor's name for years. We're on good terms. Always chatting about the yard work or whatever. This wasn't about them at all. I'm horrified I damaged their property. I'll pay for a new window, get it fixed right away, and make this right. I'll even mow their lawn or something to apologize. And then there is the final part. Show you're serious about fixing the situation. Respect the cop's authority. I'm happy to give you all of my info. Work with the neighbor to cover the cost and do whatever you need to make sure this is handled properly. I just want to make this right and not cause any more hassle. Thank you for being fair about this. Now that whole thing was fake, but fake in the most manipulative way you can imagine possible. So this is where I'm looking at, like, what are we going to do? But wait, there's more. Because there's key elements of the excuse: relatable stress, plausible mistake, no malice, proactive offer, respectable tone. Why it's believable in the outcome. And then I said, okay, let's take this further. code a splash page for an image I could upload later about this. I'll create it on a .json with your code. It gave me the code. So all I would have to do is generate the picture. And the best part about it, watch. Generate the image. I'm not going to put the coding up, but yeah. Let me see if I can do it this way. It's just generating right now. And then I will actually copy it and put it on stream. Come on, let me download. Okay. Now, there you go. I think that might be too much.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
But then again, let's look at it from the devil's perspective. Or let's just look at it from the outside perspective. Hey, how do we know that he actually broke that window? Say he was set up. Let's change that scenario just a little bit. Say he was set up. And he was able to use that. So he didn't go to jail. Meanwhile, he didn't break the window, but he's going to pay for that window. So that's where I fall. I don't think AI should be connected to any like high-powered automated system that could harm a human. I think there should absolutely be safeguards.
Yeah, I don't think they should have AI doing like sort
I'll
of
check
like
that out, Scrog.
controlling. I don't think AI should be doing the controlling of like personal banking and detailing and stuff, because then where will it stop? Because in the day, when you've got an AI, it learns and it'll eventually know more about yourself
Stop where
than
you're
you
at.
know about
Wait.
yourself.
I got to interrupt you. If I can teach my AI to do something legally to make me $1 million a day, I'm sorry, but I'm doing it. There's not a goddamn thing anybody's going to do to stop me. If it's legal and I could do it with my own AI, I'm going to try to make that million every day. 365 million a year, sold. As long as it's legal. But
did we not learn from Terminator and iRobot?
Nate, you've known me a long time. Have you ever really seen me root for the good guys?
No.
I learned from Terminator. I definitely learned from Terminator. But nah, I feel that honestly, if we don't embrace it and learn to take control now, that we're going to allow it to go too far and it's going to cause permanent damage. Time check. We are going to have to jump on the next topic, and next week we will have to continue this AI discussion because there is a lot more to it. So that is a set in stone topic for next week. You guys remember that. Finish the AI convo. The final topic. This is just so more people can relate to us and who we are. Nate, do you want to take over this? I will copy everything and
Yeah, I can do it. Little bit of our backgrounds. This segment is going to be about people in our lives growing up that made a positive impact on us. Kind of homage to those people. And in my case, thank you to those people. Because wouldn't be the person I am today without these people. And I know all of us have somebody that's impacted our life in a positive way that helped mold us into the people we are today.
Okay. Here, let me take
Go ahead.
over from here real quick for just a minute. Parents teach you grit. We also learn rebellion. We don't know if that comes from the parents or just who you are inside. Teachers spark curiosity. Friends forge your identity. Mentors push growth. Mentors could be coaches, just to make that clear. A stranger's wisdom, a cultural icon, or a historical figure can leave a permanent mark. I've seen things that most humans wouldn't want to imagine seeing. I've been through pain that probably 75% of the world has never felt. And I still look back at specific few people that said things to me that it just resonated with me permanently. Those people that had such an impact are the people that we're referring to. Nate is going to take over with the first person. With that being said, go ahead, Nate.
One person that always comes to mind, you did say, teachers are, part of it. Mr. Paul Kikuchi, I don't know if you remember Mr. K or not, was one of the music teachers.
Maybe.
He got me involved in music when I was at that time trying to shut myself off from the world. Wasn't very long after my dad died and grandmother died, and I was still kind of being offish to a lot of things and shutting down. And he got me into the love of music, and he was a person that, he wasn't just a regular teacher. He was somebody that, I could sit and talk to and was able to open up with, and, learned a lot from him. He's actually the reason why I love playing chess on top of, learning the instruments and stuff.
What is the line that he said that stuck with you?
It's not what you did in your past. It's what you can do with your future based off of what you've learned from your past.
Okay. See. Now, you remember Mr. La Rosa?
Oh, yeah. I remember him.
Okay. You remember how wild I was at that point in time?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. La Rosa looked at me one day and he took me up to the front of the class and he said, and he's tapping his wrist, he's tapping his watch, and he said, "You see what this is?" And I said, "What's that?" He said, "You're taking up time. We can never get that time back." He said, "So what are you going to do? Keep acting wild or actually use that time?" And I've never forgot about that. It didn't change nothing right away, but I still go back to thinking about it today. Then again, I've had other people, family members. My grandfather said, "Don't ever be a Democrat." He said, "We fought them people too long to become them." Okay, Matt, your turn. We know Flash. We already know that Flash got his words, his gifted words of knowledge from the previous farmhand.
I may be
Yes,
alright now.
Scrog,
I
I
might be
agree
doing
with
it.
you. good teachers really do make the difference, because I didn't have very many good teachers. But the few good teachers that we did have, that's why I said to Nate, you remember Mr. LaRosa? We both had him. He was a teacher.
Yep.
He was a good teacher. I
He was a
remember
teacher that cared.
another teacher I got fired, but that's besides the point. Poor Bill. He probably still, I was probably still sitting his head rent free.
Most likely.
Matt, well, here's okay. While Matt's trying to figure out who his most influential person was, let's go ahead and talk about this teacher. So this teacher finds out that I'm working at a computer shop. He looks at me one day. He says, "Yeah, you're failing my class." Now, I wasn't failing. I intentionally didn't try to get anything more than a C because I didn't give a damn about the class. So I would get C's, but he comes, "You're failing my class. But I can give you extra credit if you could talk to your buddies down at the computer shop you work at." Now remember, Nate, I was 13 when I worked there. I was just sweeping up the floor, and they were teaching me computers. I had my own computer before everybody else. And I went home and I said, "Mom, teacher said that he can give me a higher grade if I get his computer fixed." She said, "What do you mean?" And I said exactly what he said. She said, "Did it seem like he was going to give you a lower grade if you didn't?" I said, "Yeah, it's exactly how it seemed." Well, that ended his job. Absolutely. Okay, Matt.
Okay, well, it's not someone that benefited me in a positive way.
That's okay.
My whole life, kind of iffy. Not the greatest childhood, but
Wait, let's clarify that. That had nothing to do with me. I have tried more than people understand to be part of Matt's life. He's my stepson, too. But it's other evildoers that interfered with it.
well, I learned a lot of lessons, which without that crazy woman, I would not have learned about a lot of things like who to trust, who not to trust, and kind of to know what self-worth was, or the lack of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no question about that. I agree with you. You until you came up here, you didn't like. You didn't put it out like you had any self-worth. That's why I kept pushing it on you. Like, hey, dude, you want to do that? Go do that. That's why whenever Bruce come threatening you, like, no, you're not going to get tough with him. And I remember, I stepped between you two and told him, I make money off of playing video games. You don't need to threaten him over playing video games after school.
Yeah. Another person was Tommy. He taught me how to protect myself from a lot of bad things that I will never do, but he did. But at the end of his lifespan, he really took care of me when that crazy woman would go ballistic and I would go over to his side of the house. Me and him would just chill out, and it's like when you have that big brother who puts the headphones on and gives you a piece of candy when your parents are fighting.
Exactly. Okay, let's take the stress off of Matt's back for a minute. You're good, Matt. Flash, it's your turn.
Well,
Come back.
the only one I can. Well, I've got two, but like I say, the first one would be for me would be when I first actually, and I'll be honest with you, this is about you, Jules. When I first met you, and Unreal Tournament, and you would help me with my spelling. You kept saying you can do it. You just have to put the sentence together, and you would then go through it and try and teach me how to speak read, write, and spell, and that always stuck with me, no matter what. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to spell as well as I can now. So
Flash,
and then the,
when I met you, we were just friends in a video game. But then one day
I
you
know.
come into TeamSpeak or whatever it was, and we had that conversation. But I typed a message, and you come into the channel. Flash, you said, "Sorry, I can't read what that says." But that message, that was what got me the worst. It said, "I'm here now," because somebody told me, Candyman told me to come in. So it wasn't a very hard message to read. It's like, okay, so let me find out a
No,
little bit more about this dude. And then you were explaining, yeah, I'm diagnosed with this, and that, and I don't know how to read. It's like, I'm sure we could teach you. I'm going to take the challenge. And that's why anytime, hey, Chills, can you tell me what this says? Hey, Chills, can you help me sound this out? Yeah, sure. It was never an issue. And I would do that for anybody. That's not just you. But usually it's those
yeah, no,
people
but
that I try to help figure those things out that become some of the greatest people around me. Now, if you could stay out
because
in
even though
farmland, we'd be all right. But go ahead.
but what it is I even though I went to a special needs school, they didn't seem to have that same like they didn't seem to have that where they would have that where they put more attention to trying to help me because they had other people to teach. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you
Absolutely.
went out your way to actually put your time into helping me. That's what I'm saying.
Flash, it was never an issue. And we've been quite close friends for a long time since. Nate, can't tell me that's not the only that's the only influential person that you were surrounded by.
Oh no, Mr. K was not the only one. Um, he's one, but the reason why I went to him first is because he's one that has always been on my mind ever since, as I got older and understanding what his words meant. Because even as you said it, we didn't think of it to understand it when we were younger. Now that we're a bit older, we understand it.
I got one more, so you go ahead and go with yours. Because there's one other person that I still think about to this day, and I recently started talking to just last year again.
So another one was a friend of mine's dad when I was younger, before I had moved to McKeesport. Um, my buddy Mandel, his dad, Mr. Burns, he um he really looked out for me a lot right after my dad died. Um, showed me that there were still people that cared, um, and that could, even though I wasn't his son, you know, I was still part of his family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'll go into one more, and it's kind of a little exquisite on details, but I'll go into it in a short manner. So I'm not going to give the last name because it's nobody's business, but his first name is Joe. And there's no relation to me. The guy still lives down in Pennsylvania, and I'm in Ohio. However, Joe, when I was younger, was my mentor, and he ran a Christmas tree lot. He did other things, but he ran a Christmas tree lot. And one day I was walking past, and he looked at me, and he said, "Hey, young man, you want a job?" And I was a little prick. I'm going to be honest, I was a prick. I did not give two shits about nobody. And I said, "Yeah, sure." And at that point, I was dating this girl, and this girl's her dad, was coming after me consistently, trying to take me out because I knew things that I was not supposed to know about what happened to this girl. I will not mention her name. However, she was being exploited. That's as far as that needs to go. And her father found out that she was dating me. And he kept pointing things at me that could launch projectiles at a significant speed that could eliminate me. Now, I used all very specific words so that way it didn't get us in trouble. But this guy, Jose, kept pointing these things at me. And I went to work at this Christmas tree lot one day. And on my way around the corner, he seen me and he pointed it again. So I started cussing at him up a storm. I'm a little prick. I didn't care. I was going to run my mouth. You want to fuck with me? I'll hurt you and this and that. Joe takes me into this building. Says, now you're going to tell me exactly what the hell you're doing outside, why you're bringing all that heat, and you're going to fill me in on what's going on. So I went into the story. I explained that I was dating a girl who was being exploited by her father and that he was threatening me with a firearm. The next day I came to work. I walked into this tree shanty. A tree shanty is just a little tiny hut. And Joe says, go ahead and come in and shut the door. I come in, I shut the door. I see Wally. He's no longer around. He was a great dude. God rest his soul. I see Joe, and I see Richie. Richie's no longer around. And then I look at the corner, and I see this big, heavy-set dude. And it's this girl's father. And Joe looked at me, and he said, yeah, I don't know nothing. You wasn't here. Walk up the road. I walk out, and I hear him tell this guy. I watch one of them get very close with metal objects that could launch projectiles. I don't want to say exactly what they did, but it involved the person having a long metal barrel in their mouth. And when I come back, I said, so what ended up happening? The exact response was, sometimes you kids need to be left the hell alone. And if we got to do that, then they're going to leave you the hell alone. And Wally looked at me and he goes, Billy, just mind your business. It ain't none of your business. Like, wait, I was the one being threatened. But you know what? That's the advice I took. Mind your business. Because when I did, I knew what was going on. Now, would I ever intentionally double-cross them guys? Absolutely not. They were some good people. And too bad they're not all around. Joe still is. Nate, you would know who Joe was because he was in Christie Park.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah. And remember, I was riding around. Let's make this clear. This guy, he seen that I was working, and I was doing everything in my power to be a good kid in an area that didn't have very many. If you came outside in this area, 10 to 1 odds, you were getting arrested for fucking around. I wasn't trying to do that. These people in this area would see me riding around in the back of a limo. They would be so pissed off. And then thinking, I got all this money, and no, it's just my buddy. It's just my buddy. He looks out for me. He's my mentor. I work for him at the tree lot in the winter, and we're friends throughout the rest of the year. I'll never forget those times. I really won't. Because those were the times that I started going downhill, and it was Joe that snatched me back. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And then there was a guy that I used to work for, Eric Kozak. He's no longer around. He's from McKeesport. He became an expat. But I worked for him when I was about 14 at a steel strapping company. When I was going to college, he found out I was going through a whole bunch of things with my family. He came to the college, pulled me out of the class because he knew the teacher real well. And he said, I just wanted to check on you. I know you're going through a lot. Those are the impactful people that shaped my life. Do you have anybody that shaped your life? Your brother? Anybody that shaped it in a positive way? I'm trying to help you now, but it's a little bit late, but I'm still working.
Yeah.
Go
The
ahead,
only
Flash.
person else the only other person I can think of is my stepdad's mum. My stepdad's mum, who's my great great nan. And she's always been there, even though she's not biologically related. Because I remember doing a back garden once, and she said, "I tell you what, if you do my back garden, I'll make you a nice big Sunday dinner for doing my back garden." So I did the back garden, and at first she had the opinion that she didn't think she was going to get on with me because I was one of them kids where I was like constantly breaking things, getting myself into trouble and stuff like that. And because I was only young, she didn't think she would get on with it. But me and her now, honestly, I'd die for that woman, you know what I mean? Because she's always, even now, even though she's in her 90s, she's always helping me out with getting my car fixed or whatever, anything I need. She would always be there and she'd be able to help me, you know?
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I do want to make a mention right now. This is another topic. And you know what? We will continue this topic next week if Nate doesn't mind. I want to alter this topic to people that gave you faith back in humanity. Because we ain't got enough time to really get back into that discussion, because that's going to be a long one. But I feel that would be a great second topic. How you feel about that one, Nate?
I like it. I think I got a proposition of the third segment of all of our shows. We'll make it the softer side of the savages.
My whole
And
idea with the third segment, no matter what it is, it could be soft, it could be heavy, it's got to be inspirational. I do not want anybody leaving this show after they watch it, one, regretting they watched it, or two, having the effect that they're not taking nothing away from it. If I could inspire one person to have a better night, then I'm happy. So that's why I always do the inspiration at the end. So
yeah, I'm definitely done with that.
it
Oh,
looks
real quick, Scrog, I
good.
caught your comment earlier. Didn't want to interrupt Chills,
No,
but
you're
yeah,
good.
he was a very good man.
Okay. So it looks like I got to press a button. But we don't have to listen. Bang. See? It's gone. Okay. So that's a wrap for the Sum of the Savages. We dove into the Babel deafening theory. We shredded today's chaos. We didn't really shred it. We got a lot more to continue on that discussion. And it got real about the people who forged us. A big thanks to Nate the Celt, Mighty Mouse Matt, Flash Martin. To those that couldn't make it, no problem. And if you want more, hit a subscribe. No. If you want more, make sure you're subscribed so you can tune in next Saturday. Nate, you just want to set it for 6:30 for everybody to make it easier in case there's plans for Friday nights and it's still not taking Flash too late?
Yeah, I'm done with that.
Does that work for you, Flash? A little bit earlier than last week?
Well,
6:30 from now on? 6:30 my time.
yeah,
So
you can do.
about 10, 11 your time.
It'll probably be about half 11 by the time. Yeah, but yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. Then that's what we'll do. We'll start hitting it at 6:30. So, like I said, go ahead and hit the subscribe if you're watching us on Rumble, if you're watching us on YouTube. You want to be able to see more, you'll be able to see more. There will be upcoming changes to the way that I have this set up. We're in a discussion right now, and we're finalizing how it's going to be before I make changes. As you see, you could take this as a clue. We're in the halls of Valhalla. Next episode, we're gonna chase the idea about more into the AI conversation. What restored faith in humanity, and influences that'll shake you, like things that raw, untamed, may be dangerous. So until then, stay savage, stay loud, and we'll catch you next time. With that being said,